Should medicinal cannabis be legal? Let's take a look at the history of cannabis. Cannabis and hemp were one of the first plants to be grown in agriculture, dating back to about 10,000 years ago, when we first came out of being hunters and gatherers. Just a few years back, in a carbon-dated 5,000-year-old tomb in China, a medicine bag was discovered, which belonged to a medicine man. In that bag, cannabis was recovered. The oldest actual written record for the use of cannabis as a medicine was found in the Ayurvedic medicine. This piece of history was written and used by the people of India and is dated back to somewhere between 1100 and 1700 BC. Cannabis has been found in every major materia medica that has ever been written, including the United States Pharmacopoeia, which was used from 1854 until 1941. Cannabis has been a medicine for a lot longer than it hasn't been. What makes cannabis a medicine? Cannabinoids. Cannabinoids are chemical compounds secreted by the cannabis flower. They work their medicinal magic by imitating compounds our bodies naturally produce called endocannabinoids. These naturally produced compounds activate to maintain internal stability and health. To simply put it, they mediate communication between cells, and when there is a problem with our endocannabinoid system, unpleasant symptoms and physical complications occur. This is where cannabis comes into play. When consumed, cannabinoids bind receptor sites throughout our body and brain. Different cannabinoids have different effects depending on which receptors that they bind to. Cannabis contains at least 85 types of cannabinoids, many which have medical value. By aiming the right cannabinoid at the right receptor, different types of relief are achievable. There are people all over the world suffering from debilitating illnesses and diseases that can receive relief and comfort from medicinal cannabis. Let's take a look at a few. Glaucoma. Glaucoma increases pressure in the eyeball, essentially causing damage to the optic nerve, which will eventually cause loss of sight. When smoked, cannabis has been known to lower the intraocular pressure. According to the National Eye Institute, when lowering the pressure, the disease progression can be reduced naturally, preventing blindness. As a result, it will allow a much higher quality of life for people affected by this debilitating disease. Human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, is a retroactive virus that invades cells in the immune system, therefore making an infected person highly susceptible to infectious diseases. Cannabis is used for medicinal treatment for many of the virus's symptoms. It offsets symptoms such as anxiety, nausea, and appetite loss. A study was conducted by the University of California and reported that smoking cannabis 3 times a day can relieve the chronic neuropathic pains caused by HIV. One of the most well-known medical uses of cannabis is for those undergoing chemotherapy. The patients being treated with chemo suffer from chronic nausea and vomiting. It has been proven that people who smoke cannabis to deal with the harsh treatments from cancer have a much better quality of life doing so. Published in the British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology, studies have shown that medicinal cannabis possesses medical properties such as reducing nausea and vomiting, combating psychosis, and suppressing seizure activity. It's truly amazing when you look at the number of conditions that respond favorably to cannabis. We live in the ironic time where a plant has been labeled as criminal and dangerous, but is providing unrivaling relief for a variety of symptoms and conditions. 23 out of 50 states and the District of Columbia have legalized medicinal cannabis. There are 10 pharmaceutical drugs that have been developed that either contain similar chemicals to medicinal cannabis or the properties of medicinal cannabis are found in these drugs. So why not legalize medicinal cannabis nationwide? With the basic knowledge of how and why cannabis is truly a safe, natural, and effective remedy, we can all educate other people. And on November 6, 2016, we can all voice our opinion by voting. Let's get medicinal cannabis legalized.